There
Awesome.
we go. Did that share the screen? If it did, fantastic. Yay, thanks for the thumbs up. I appreciate it. That is fantastic. So thank you all very much for joining us this evening. Just to let you know that the meeting is being recorded again, so we will send that out to individuals on our YouTube channel. So this presentation, as well as other presentations from this evening, will be available there after the call. And if you did not have the opportunity to attend last month's officer town hall and you want to check those out, those are there as well as some other resources and things of that nature. So as we dive into this, Jackie, will you just confirm that I'm sharing like the full presentation and you're not seeing like the behind the scenes secret speaker things? Okay, thank you. Like I've got this random like box around it. So I'm, man, you know, long day. So yeah, but we'll go here. So my name is Jessica Seitz, and I have the honor of serving Alpha Kappa Psi as the managing director of our foundation. It is a role that I have held for the past 3.5 years. And prior to that, I started with the organization back in 2000 and worked mostly over those 17 years on our meeting and events. So running convention, running Principal Business Leadership Institute, the Academy, things of that nature. And then also dabbled a little bit in student services under chapter management, as well as at one point in time, I even dipped my toes into the technology realm, which was very short-lived. So Jackie is laughing because she and I often get on these things, tag teaming together. People, I think they like to put us together. One, because we're smart, but two, it's because sometimes like she and I like work off each other well in terms of technology, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So Jackie, I will let you introduce yourself and then we will get on our way.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Hinarte, and I have the pleasure of serving you guys as one of the fraternity officers as your executive vice president. This is my second term that I was elected to, so I've been executive vice president for 3 years now. And it has definitely been my privilege to be here for you all, helping you all, and making sure that the future business leaders of this world are being developed specifically through AKSI. Prior to that, I've volunteered since I graduated. If it's been chapter advisor, section director, regional director, and now currently executive vice president. So this is my, like I joke around, night job, you know, fighting crime or helping others. What pays my bills is I do work for Apple. I've been with them for like the last 18 months at this point. So I do work for Apple, currently transitioning into a new world because of COVID and virtual world. So I will be home for the officially be home for the next 6 months working with them. I have my new very large iMac that they just sent. So I'm excited for that because like she said, yes, I work for Apple and me and technology don't work well together, but that's the beauty of it. And I always love to share this when I start that one of the reasons I work for such a fantastic company and what I consider to be the best company I've ever worked for is because of AKSI. I know I would have never passed that interview if it wasn't for the skills and everything that I got through AKSI. And some of those skills, or most of them, I acquired as an alumni, not even just as a student, as an alumni, because I was a student for 3 years and I've been an alumni for the last, 15 years or so at this point. So I've acquired most of these skills that have helped me throughout my career, continuously giving to AKSI as an alumni, which is why I'm super excited to be here with you all as the vice president of alumni relations.
Awesome. Thanks, Jackie. So first, additionally, the other thing I want to do is if you all will do me a favor, if you will pop open the chat, and if you will do an introduction of yourself, your name, what school you go to, if you are a student or an alumni member, how long you've served in the role you are in, and then just something that you want to take away from tonight, what you want to learn from tonight. That way we make sure that those of you who are in this group, you can copy that chat and so that you have individuals' contact information. That way, if, you know, Henry wants to connect with Alex or Ainsley wants to connect with Kaylin, that we're going to try to facilitate that and make that possible. So your name, school, if you're a student or an alumni member, how long you've served in the role, and just what you want to learn from tonight.
So I don't know if it's everyone, but for me, Jessica, the chat is enabled. Like it's private.
Oh,
I
it?
can message you, Miss Jessica, privately.
There we go.
Oh,
Try this now.
Yes, perfect.
So, okay, sorry about that. That was, you know, if we're going to do ticks, we'll just, you know, tick, that's the first crazy thing. You can tell we used this for voting purposes last weekend for the board meeting, and so we have the chat to say it. So we'll go through it again. Name, school, student or alumni member, how long you've served in the role, and what you want to learn from tonight. All right, and as those are starting to come in, real quickly, just to review some of the tech pieces, you know, again, I'm sure you all have heard these on the numerous Zooms we've all been on since, you know, mid-March, but if you can, just try to place yourself on mute for the entirety of the call until you have a question. You know, either type your question in the chat box, and Jackie and I are going to be monitoring that throughout, as well as, you know, if you're comfortable being on video, great. We love to see your face. If you're not, that's okay too. Use the chat, again, use the chat feature, raise your hand, but ask questions. This is not just meant to be us speaking at you by any means. This should be an opportunity for us to answer questions throughout the weekend. So this is fantastic. USC, Alumni Relations, Creative Solutions for Alumni Events. Excellent. Chapters are planning. Virtual ideas to engage alumni. Okay, excellent. Well, as we go through this, we're hoping that we will be able to answer and some of these questions, and also to provide you some tips and tricks along the way. So first things first, here we go. So as you know, your role as a VPAR overall is kind of threefold here. One is to serve as members of your executive board. Two is to really plan and execute alumni involvement strategies that supports your chapter's functions. And as part of that overall strategy, you're going to host a new alumni orientation. So really one of the main roles of how to get alumni and keep alumni involved is to start from the beginning. And that begins as people are transitioning from collegiate member to alumni member and going through an alumni orientation. And the alumni orientation, we did do a organization-wide alumni orientation over the summer. And gosh, that was back in May already. And we do have those recorded. And so we will share that link here with the group, and so that you can look to that to kind of see how we ran it. It was all done virtually. And there's a very specific, 3 objectives that we wanted to go through as we went through alumni orientation. First was to explain the obligations of what it means to be an alumni member of Alpha Kappa Psi. AKPsi membership doesn't end when you put on your cap and gown and walk out of the school building for the last time. It's a lifelong obligation. We also want to discuss different ways that you can be involved, and that means both at the local chapter level as well as organization-wide. And then, of course, we want to celebrate their accomplishments. We want to congratulate our seniors as they move on to the next phase of their membership. And so we can connect this. It can also be like a 1-2 punch, alumni orientation, and then the graduating senior celebration. So like we talked about, the easiest way to get someone engaged is is to keep them engaged. So if you can ensure that this alumni orientation is really part of your overall strategy, we believe that you're going to be very successful. One of the ways to increase alumni engagement would be to consider having an alumni member from your chapter assist in co-hosting the event with you. So who better to talk about how to stay involved and the benefits of being involved as an alum than an actual alum of your group. So let's see here. So looking at the overarching agenda for an alumni orientation, this is very broad here, but a couple of the things that, and Jackie, you can chime in here as well since you did the heavy lift on the alumni orientation, but we wanted to go through a couple of different things. You know, it's one, like we talked about, you know, how to take what you learned in Alpha Kappa Psi from the classroom to the boardroom, sort of some of those tips, what you learned in the chapter environment and how you can apply it to your first time job. This section is perfect for bringing local alumni back either in person or virtually, and to get them to help, you know, tag team with you on this portion of the agenda. We also went through navigating the new My AKSI community. I know that as we are more and more in that software and playing within that realm, this may not be a super heavy piece within the alumni orientation. However, it is still important to not miss this, and here is why. It's because at this point, it would be great if you would have every single person log in and update their contact information. Update to their permanent email, not their .edu, because a lot of those will expire after 6 months, a year, even 2 years. I know it seems like a really long time, but 2 years goes like that, and the next thing you know, you get a bounce back to a .edu email address, and that individual is gone and lost forever. So we want them to update to a permanent email address, a good phone number, their mailing address, and if they don't know where they're going to end up because they're still in transition, you know, so working through that first apartment rental agreement or still weighing the 3 different fantastic job opportunities they've received, we just want to get some sort of permanent email or permanent mailing address. So it could be a parent or a guardian. I know that this is also something that we appreciate from the organization-wide level, because when an individual updates within the My AKSI community, then we receive that information at the organization. And then when you as a VPAR are emailing us requesting alumni lists, then we have good information to provide back to you. So think of your past or your future self doing a favor for your past self. Did I say that the right way? But yes, so that's what we want to do. And then also we want to go through the 3 T's for continuous involvement in Alpha Kappa Psi, which is really time, talent, and treasure. And we'll get into those a little bit more. But, you know, in terms of their time, just looking at engagement opportunities, you know, we distribute quarterly a alumni newsletter called the Sapphire, so they will receive that, and it speaks to all of the higher level going on within the organization. So how they can be involved in organization-wide education offerings, going through the blogs, the podcasts, reading lists, suggested, you know, articles, as well as highlighting our, you know, successful alumni members, highlighting our successful student chapters, and, you know, even in a lot of cases, highlighting our very successful and rock star students that we have within the organization. Another thing that we, you know, look at for engagement opportunities is the purchase of a Life Loyal membership. So with that becomes discounts to events as well as various other member benefit discounts and things of that nature. We do want to review volunteer opportunities, and so this is really hits home to, how they can be involved. So either organization-wide as well as at the local level. You all have very specific offerings at your student chapters that make you unique. And so how alumni can come back and, even just with 1 hour a semester, give back to your current student members with their time. And in some cases, as we look at local activities here, they're really their talent. Can they come back and speak to, how they negotiated their first salary, or can they come back and speak to, how they, are a hiring manager and what they're looking for in potential, or, how do we, navigate a diverse organization and ensure that everyone feels included and is included, and is everyone is treated fairly and equally. So, as well as then, obviously fraternity events is another way we can stay involved. Local activities that are maybe not just, your student chapters activities, but if there's, multi-chapters that are doing things together, making sure that alumni know what those are and that they have the opportunity to participate if it is realistic, as well as then, our alumni chapter network across the country. We also have alumni chapters in the Asian countries, in Hong Kong, Panama, and the United Kingdom. So there's opportunities even internationally to, even if they're just visiting, they don't need to be, in a member of the alumni chapter to participate and to network with them, as well as then, we definitely want to to celebrate, like we talked about, celebrate and wish them well on their way. So really with that alumni orientation, we talked a little bit about the time, the talent, and the treasure in terms of alumni engagement. And I really think that this is that first key to connecting your alumni brothers to ensure that they do create those lasting relationships. And so with that, your chapter's engagement strategy is really critical to your success in alumni engagement. And so like we talked about, you just want them to stay engaged, involved. Even a little bit might spark their interest, which will bring them back into the fold. But one thing I do want to say is to set your expectations accordingly. What may appeal to one individual may not appeal to others, so do not get discouraged. Remember also to keep it mutually beneficial. Of course, we want our alumni to come back and to be speakers, and we want them to, potentially sponsor events or sponsor programs or activities. And we want them to come and help work at our recruitment tables. We want. But also it has to have a benefit to the alumni member as well. So, look for places that make it an easy fit for alumni to participate. So if you look at your, alumni or your student member demographics, you're traditionally looking from 18 to 23 years old. And so even that what might appeal to an 18-year-old may be different than what appeals to a 23-year-old in terms of programming and things of that nature. Well, think about how large that appeal has to now reach for someone who is 24 to, in some cases, 94, and there's even some people at 104 that are still in our database. So, different needs for those different age groups and different other demographics that we have involved in the organization. So, when you're planning for that, look for easy touch points, easy ways that might appeal to across all of those different demographics. So, some different ideas looking at once you've set your chapter's calendar for the year, take that chapter calendar and look at ways that you can easily plug people in. So like we already talked about, the rituals, the graduating senior ceremony is a fantastic opportunity for them to come back and to participate at that, because in one breath, you're congratulating them as they're leaving, and the alumni are welcoming them into the alumni realm. So, ask them to participate in recruitment events. Show off your successful alumni and show potential members who they can become. So this also, I think, is especially now, there's such an opportunity. I mean, does it all suck that we're all doing all of this behind a camera? Yeah, you bet. We would much rather be, face to face in a room together so that, we can have those personal connections. But those personal connections are not lost a lot of times over Zoom calls, because an individual from your chapter that may not live any longer in, Atlanta, Georgia, but is living in Seattle, Washington, can still now come to his or her home chapter's recruitment events by the power that is Zoom, or any other virtual platform. So, alumni like to be highlighted, just like everybody likes to see their names in lights, right? So, seek those individuals out and let them speak to their experiences of what it means to be, in the business realm, post-graduation. And so again, show your potential members during recruitment events who they can become. And then, once we're all able to be in the same rooms again, look to those networking social events. Homecoming is something that happens on every single college campus, at least in the United States. And so a very easy way to, utilize the power that your alumni office at your college or university is already doing to tag on and, get on that train that they're already doing. So they are already sending out letters of invitation to every single one of their alumni members. They're paying that money to get people to, the promotion materials to get people to come back to campus and to participate in campus. Connect with them early and say, hey, we want to ensure that our program is highlighted on your homecoming schedule. Depends on what it is. Some will say yes, some may not say no. But also, if you know that if you're lucky enough to get on that homecoming schedule, A, fantastic, and we want to know about it. But B, if you're not, if you have that homecoming schedule, but you know that on Monday, October 1st, every single alum from, University of Delaware is going to receive a letter of invitation and a brochure in the mail, you can send an email on that Thursday and say, hey, by the way, you should have received this from the University of Delaware. Let me tell you what we're doing, and we would love to see you back there too. So use their influence and use that purpose. So also in terms of other things that, thinking about, engagement strategy for your alumni is just speaker events. We already talked about how alumni can be a speaker. An alum can come back and speak to a variety of different topics, but also keep in mind that they could be in the audience. If you are hosting a professional event for your student membership, sometimes those same topics are still relatable. Just even though you've graduated, they can still be relatable. Put that information out there and let alumni come back and participate. And in addition to that, if again, just like homecoming, if your university is hosting a professional event, ask if alumni are able to attend, and if they are, then invite them. Let them know that, University of British Columbia is hosting a human resources, seminar on how to, from the human resources side of things, how to negotiate salary. Well, then by all means, invite your alumni back, because basically what you're doing is saying, like, we can still be beneficial to you. We can still matter in your professional development, which is basically what we're doing for each other all the time. So, and then, of course, we want, in addition to their time and to their talent, I would be remiss in saying, especially as the head of the foundation, that we definitely want their treasure as well. Student members, you are footing the bill for a lot of things, and it is okay for us to utilize our alumni database to ask for donations, to the chapter as well as to the organization as a whole. Now, there are different ways that the foundation can assist you in facilitating the ask, the appeal. You know, we can ensure that the money that is received by an alum allows for an alum to receive a charitable gift receipt, but that money would need to come through the foundation, and then we pass that money along to your student chapter for educational purposes. So that could be a separate session all in of itself. So if you do have questions about that, please reach out, and we, either Jackie or myself, we can talk you through all of that. Excuse me. Jackie, anything else to add so far, or any other questions that have come up that you can think of?
No, I think your everything is great, and all the information that Jessica is providing. And I was reading through some of your questions or what you guys want to get out of tonight. I'm going to put both of our emails up here as well as a reminder. So like she said, especially for the treasure part, if you guys want more help or facilitation of that, you can reach out to any one of us for either more questions or to help you facilitate that. So I'm just going to put that in the chat. Again, if anybody has any questions, I'm just monitoring the chat for you guys.
Perfect. Thanks, Jackie. So yeah, so as we are thinking through, I mean, this may not be rocket science, and it may just be, you may have an aha moment during this section, but really, you know, as you are planning your strategy, there's just, let's always remember to consider the 3 C's of marketing, right? So you have an alumni database, and you need to foster the relationship. So if your alumni don't feel connected to the chapter anymore, or have no interest in supporting it or attending events, they just simply aren't going to. So remember, as we talked about at the beginning, like, you know, you can't please everyone all the time, and, you know, don't stress out about it. And just remember that every little bit helps. So 3 things to consider when developing your strategy. Again, for marketing majors in the room, this is probably something you've already heard multiple times over, but just think of, you know, content, communication channels, and consistency. So, you know, for content, you know, ensure that you plan events and update your alumni on things that they are interested in. This is going to be it's just trial and error. You know, as you are potentially putting together a newsletter, look at what, you know, people respond to, if you're able to track click-throughs, social media, what is getting more likes than others. Utilize your collaboration group in the My AK Sci community and see which of those posts that you're making gets engagement and gets interaction. So, you know, some examples of information that we have seen that have worked well is, you know, or chapters have looked at, you know, for one chapter, pledge biographies in a newsletter might be a lot of interest to alumni. And for another chapter, it might be alumni spotlights, you know, that are just what people are honing in on. And, you know, it could be inviting alumni to a brother camping trip versus a professional trip to an alumni company. So it really just depends on your makeup and your, you know, your chapter at the time and what's just going to hit for those certain alumni members of your chapter. Also, you know, as you look to putting information out there, especially about local activities that you're doing, diversify your communication strategy. When we're talking about alumni, make sure you're not limiting this to just individuals that attended your school. Right? I mean, that might be scary, right? Or it might be like, oof, but, you know, like we were talking about, you know, an individual that has, you know, went to school in Miami, but is now living in Portland or Seattle, whichever West Coast city I just named earlier. You know, they are still wanting to feel the AK side love. So, you know, I grew up in Cincinnati. I now live in Indianapolis. I went to school in southeastern Kentucky. And so I've also lived in northern Kentucky for a little while. And, you know, since I am not able to attend local alumni activities for the high school I went to, anytime that they do have something here in Indianapolis, I want to attend because it gives me that connection still to my high school. And the same thing goes with alumni of Alpha Kappa Psi. If there is something local and they are interested, they are going to want to attend regardless of if it's their home chapter or not. So how do you find out who those people are? There's two different ways. One, you can request a list of local alumni and your own chapter's alumni as well by emailing either your resource coordinator, so that is CERC@aksi.org, or you can email Stephanie@aksi.org. Stephanie is our fantastic foundation administrative assistant, and so she is very happy to pull that list for you and provide you with that information. And it will include their names, their mailing addresses, phone numbers, emails, as well as their initiation date, so that you can kind of gauge the age demographics that you're going to be dealing with, as well as she will also provide like what chapter and what school they attended. So looking through our communication channels, newsletters, we talked about, can cover a variety of content. Frequency can vary. It really matters. It's really up to you to determine the frequency and the capacity at which that you can put those out there. But whatever you decide on, make sure you keep it consistent from term to term and from year to year, because there's nothing worse, as you all have seen probably already, when you're like, what happened to that monthly, email that I've been getting from, this restaurant or this whatever, and then all of a sudden they skip and you're like, did they close, or are they not doing anything anymore? And then you're just less likely to see it when it does come across your desk in the future. Emails, email is definitely not dead. I know that it is, especially with individuals of a certain age group. We still rely, I'm waving because I'm of that age group, we still definitely rely on emails more frequently than even a newsletter. You can send information out. Just make sure that it's personalized and professional. Ensure that, you're just you say it once, you say it twice, you remind people again, and then you're able to ensure that people are showing up. There's also, of course, social media. One, it's easy, and I shouldn't say it's easy, but easier than like dealing with some of the other, like building a whole newsletter, but it's free. It's great for last minute reminders and just, quick shout outs and different things of that nature. But one thing is definitely a huge tip is to keep it maintained. I cannot tell you how frequently we see old, especially Twitter accounts that are no longer being utilized and things of that nature. So, and it doesn't do anyone any good to have a Twitter account that hasn't been used in 3 years. Larry talked about consistency, communicate on a regular basis, not sporadically. They'll stop paying attention if they aren't anticipating communication, and I'd love to say that the frequency, I can tell you what it should be, but again, it really goes to your own chapter. Determine the optimal frequency, if it's monthly, quarterly, semester, and then have a succession plan in place for transferring the information. So if you've built this great newsletter, make sure that you are providing, the how-tos to the person who will, who will replace you after your term here is up. Has anyone, let's share a little bit, open up the floor. Has anyone seen any success or had any success so far with various different, maybe a newsletter or that you really appreciated, emails, different other forms of communication that we may not have already covered? Jackie, I like that idea of an easy social media idea to get your alumni involved, is to give them access to your chapter IDs account and let them do a day in a life. That's fun.
It's a great way to get them involved. More individuals than we think use Instagram. I know that obviously this generation does. Millennials definitely do. I mean, I'm one of those that say millennials took over TikTok. Yes, we did. I'm one of those. But yes, more and more generations are using Instagram account. And I think it's also a great way of getting your current students involved. So for example, I'm in Apple, but I'm in retail management. A lot of people don't know about retail management. So it's like spend a day in the life of Jackie. What is it like to be a retail? What is it like to be in retail management? Or what is it like to be in investment banking? Or what is it like to be in a life of a marketing coordinator or an Instagram influencer? So utilizing that, which is free and easy. And honestly, it just takes a little bit of coordination on your side on, okay, Jackie, you're going to own the Instagram account on August 20th. It's not much more work than that and reaching out. So that's a quick, just easy idea. It's just allowing someone to take over your Instagram account for a day.
Awesome. I think she just volunteered to do a.
Yes, I can volunteer. I can do that for you guys too. The life of Miami in a house for retail management. Absolutely. I can definitely
There you go.
do that. And I know some of you were asking, like as I read through most of you, it was like, well, how do you guys feel this would change it being virtual? Honestly, I'm going to give you guys my 100% honest answer when it comes to this. I think this and virtual has made it now easier than ever to connect with alumni. It's so much easier to reach out to an alumni and tell them, hey, could you join us or be a speaker for 30 minutes or an hour? They don't have to leave their house. They don't have to find a babysitter. They don't have to do any of that. They don't have to drive somewhere after work. They're tired. They can just be home. They can wear AK side letters or something else, and then like pajamas on the bottom. If you don't see that, like they can do all of that from the comfort of their house, versus before driving or finding babysitter or time to do it, they might have not had that opportunity. I think this frees up a lot more time for your alumni to actually be those speakers. So calendar of events, or maybe just asking, hey guys, we need these many speakers, who could volunteer their time? I think the virtual world now more than ever is great for alumni and our time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would tag on to exactly to what Jackie said. I know that it's, should we plan? That's a great transition to alumni events. What events have we planned in the past, and what has worked? What have people really liked? And try to take the main successful components of those and transfer those into a virtual world. So, think about why people might want to, what are some of the reasons that people might want to attend an event? One, there's obviously networking and things of that nature. There's also, educational opportunities. They're also seeking out education, continuing education even after graduation. Three, a lot of times they want access to current student members because they know that they're the best and the brightest that your university has to offer. And so, their alumni often are looking at, all right, who can I potentially bring into the fold in my organization? So I really think that if you were to take some of those three things, Jackie's putting a couple things in the chat here, but, if we want to look at networking, even if it is just on Friday, quote unquote, brown bag lunch, open up a Zoom call and allow people to join and to all eat lunch together. Of course, you want to have some people that are guaranteed to be there first. You can plant some questions to start some different conversations. Tell me about your favorite day as a member on our campus, or tell me about share with me your most embarrassing Zoom situation. Whatever it might be, to make it fun and to make it enjoyable. And it can just be a half an hour. It doesn't even have to be long. It's just like a virtual lunch or a virtual happy hour, things of that nature. Host a virtual game night, Zoom game nights. There's a couple of different, platforms out there. And we've actually had a few with the organization, AKSI staff and the management team that have been a lot of fun. It's very interesting to see into the minds of, you know, your alumni and students. It's an easy way to get to know each other when you're trying to draw a random, you know, logo on a t-shirt through a game. You know, it's kind of silly and fun, and it's just an easy way to get to know people. And, you know, as people are participating in some of these networking, you know, virtual networking events that are just open to all, you know, start to listen and to jot down other information that they're sharing with you when they are participating. So if they come on and they're like Jackie and says, well, you know, I work for Apple and here's my role, you know, think about, okay, well then maybe reaching out to Jackie after that to say, you know, what about would you come and now be a speaker for us? Even if it is a brown bag lunch where there is a 15-minute like TED Talk-esque type of thing, and then it, you know, the next 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, however long people want to stay on, it's you know, just eating lunch together and discussing what they just learned. Netflix, a movie watch party. Something of those lines. You know, there's different things of that nature that I think that you can still do in a virtual world that still, you know, makes people fulfill their need for networking, for, you know, for continuing education, and then of course going to, you know, the you know, getting alumni in front of student members and the best and the brightest. So looking to some, yeah, some other things, you know, just to consider here, you know, I mentioned lunch a lot of times. That may or may not work for everyone. Breakfast might be the perfect opportunity as well. You know, get them before they get into their day, before they start their day. I do know that when we were all able to be in the same room together, those, at least for me, appealed to me, because then I didn't get, you know, too ingrained in my entire day and the day got away from me and, oh, look, lunch is come and gone. Or the last thing I want to do is, you know, drive downtown at 6 o'clock at night when you know, when I don't work downtown. So, you know, think about that. You know, send a poll out to your alum and ask them when do they want to do it, or just try a couple different ones. And you know what, numbers, you know, let the fingers do the talking. You know, if they show up, then that's obviously the right time for your group of alumni members. So, you know, look at the time of year, day and time of the week, you know, what other major events on campus or in the community are happening that might be a draw for individuals. You know, we did talk a little bit about like homecoming at your chapter. Again, you know, if we're looking into the future, something to look at, you know, is there even a community event that happens every year that people really get excited about and they may come back for? Where I went to school, there was an annual festival, and man, it brought every single person into town, and you just didn't miss it. And so oftentimes the school would try to pair that with homecoming. It didn't always work, but at the same time, that's when we would be able to really meet up with a lot of our alumni members and to connect with them and see how they were doing. Also, you know, you might want to consider in terms of, you know, if you are hosting virtual events, to try to find those ambassadors or influencers of former pledge classes or former graduating classes. So thinking back, you know, who were your rock stars, who there's rock stars' names, and see if they wouldn't mind being the game show host for the night, or the host of the brown bag lunch, or the host of that event. And then, you know, maybe they would be the ones that are willing to reach out and to invite people to come back. Let them do the heavy lifting there for you. I know Jackie did mention too in their pledge class or family nights are also a great opportunity. Any other thoughts, you know, of what you guys might be thinking of doing for this semester in terms of virtual activities?
Yeah, I would say too, don't be afraid of just trying something completely new in this virtual environment. And I'm going to use Laura from the University of Miami for a second here. So the University of Miami, a lot of the students that go there don't necessarily always live in Miami. They come from other places. So their alumni obviously then don't stay in Miami. They go back home or somewhere else, or even overseas if it's down to South America or Europe. So if you do like that brown bag lunch, or let's say you decide to do it like at noon, you can catch people no matter where in the world, either for breakfast, for lunch, or for dinner. Depending, or a midnight snack if it's over in Asia. So like, you know, you can catch your West Coast for breakfast, you can catch your East Coast for lunch, you can catch Europe for dinner, you can catch Asia for like a midnight snack, and just getting together. And that's the beauty of the virtual for alumni, is that no matter where they are in the world, they can join. And it's not that, oh, at that time, an hour from now, I'm still driving somewhere. They can stay at work if they need to an extra half an hour, or they can, you know, get up an extra half an hour early just to participate. So I would say try it. You don't lose anything for trying it virtually. And again, any ideas or anything that you guys need, I am available. If you want to like one-on-ones, just send me a message and we can set those up. An alumni panel, I think, is a great idea. Bring about 5 different alumni to speak and then answer questions. You know, I've been doing that with work a lot. I have different panels and I'll be the moderator. I have some questions prepared, or I monitor the chat for questions. And again, usually it's very difficult. I remember being a student, trying to get 5 alumni and coordinating them to come on campus at the same time was difficult. I have a feeling coordinating that virtually might be a lot easier, especially if we can catch them right after work. Like, hey, could you stay at work an extra half hour to be a panelist for this? So I think that would be a lot easier for them to engage in that. So I love that idea about the panel. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that is fantastic. I agree. You know, it is, especially as it relates to, you know, thinking about just who your alumni members are in terms of, you know, you know, if they're full-time employees, you know, when are their hours of operation? You know, it doesn't necessarily mean 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. Also, you know, considering, you know, age groups and things of that nature. You know, I have 2 children at home, 14 and 16, and you know, before today, my life was very wrapped up in the evenings with shuttling everyone to different places. But luckily, the 16-year-old just got her license and now can take her sister to where she needs to go. And the benefit of that now, though, is that now I have the time at night to say, yeah, sure, I'll give you an hour or two, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours of my time. And it's an easy 2 hours because I can do it from wherever I'm at. And even then, if I needed to do it from the golf course, I could do it from the golf course. So that is the beauty. Virtual sounds really scary, but I think it does, like we talked about a little bit more, just open up the opportunities, because you've now taken out transportation time, you've taken out, you know, distance and things of that nature. And like Jackie said, a lot of people are working at home right now. And so we can make up our own schedules and free up more time. I think there's a lot of trust right now in the, you know, in business and just in working environments where, you know, you might put in a few extra hours in the morning in order to get a few extra hours in the afternoon. So, but one thing that, you know, as you are communicating with your alumni, this is the thing that I think makes or breaks your alumni engagement strategy. You can have the most exciting event. You can have planned it for, you know, months on end. You have dotted all your I's, crossed all your T's, and you are ready to rock and roll, but you've not, you know, given people enough time to plan to participate. So just like we were saying that, you know, people are able to schedule their time a little bit differently right now. It's still, you know, they are still planning things just as if, you know, it was pre-COVID. So, you know, please, please, please give individuals at least a minimum of 30 days notice. My suggestion would be that once you've looked at your chapter's calendar and you know where you are going to fit in alumni activities, I think that you can put out a tentative calendar of events to your entire alumni group and just say, you know, mark your calendars, and then, you know, provide them after you provide the year long, then provide them with 3-month little snippets. Like if something goes out in August, say like, here's what's going to happen in August, September, and October. And, you know, just put a little asterisk and say, you know, dates and times may change, but right now this is what we're doing. We would love to have you there. And so just, you know, tell them, remind them, remind them, remind them. And so that way people, you know, if I have something, I know me, if I have something on my calendar, even 3 months in advance, I'm more likely to keep that appointment when other things are also being organized that might take that time. So, out early, maintain your purpose behind each alumni event. You know, think through again just how you want people to be involved and engaged. So, you know, looking at you aren't just hosting these events because you think alumni should attend, but really hosting things that are designed to allow what we talked about earlier, the networking, the education, and the connections and the celebration of accomplishments. So, and also I think that's another great way, you know, like we talked about before, everybody likes to see their name in lights. So everybody likes to see their names, you know, in magazines or on social media, things of that nature. Make sure that you are also sharing your alumni accomplishments as much as you are sharing your student members' accomplishments. You know, you can always start small, but once, you know, it does tend to snowball once people see what you're planning to do. So let's see here. So there's a couple of additional resources that we do have. And so we will, I think we can get to, Jackie, are you able to copy those links and put them in the chat so I don't go all over the place over here? That's great. So real quickly, before we, you know, what other questions do you all have? What did we not answer? Let me go back through and make sure, you know, feel free to take yourselves off mute too and share successes, share where you're struggling, you know, what questions can we still be of service to answer?
Hello. So I saw someone else mention this in their introduction, and as the new VP of Alumni Relations, I'm struggling with the alumni database because what I was given, a lot of it is outdated. There was a lot of .edu emails, you know, that we weren't able to reach out. So it's like I'm inheriting like a long list of issues, but something that I found helpful that might help other people is reaching out through LinkedIn. Some people that, you know, we have no idea what their email is, I found and reached out through LinkedIn, and they were happy that I reached out. But I want to ask, do you guys have like a list of alumni? Do you guys have your own database that maybe we could cross-check?
Yes, of course. So we can provide you the information. Just you shoot an email either to your resource coordinator or CERC@aksci.org or Stephanie at aksci.org, and she can just say, you know, I'm from this school, this chapter, and just say, I just need a complete list of our alumni members. And so we will provide to you exactly what we have in our database.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And then, you know, if we would ask, if at all possible, so that we can keep our information up to date as well, is that if you are, you know, working with individuals and, you know, they provide you an updated mailing address, email address, phone number, all that kind of good stuff, if you're able to collect it, to let us know that too. And then that way we'll update our database so that the person who's in your shoes 3 years from now isn't going through all the hard work that you're also working with.
Yeah,
as well.
I've been updating a lot of information, so I guess I would share it with one of the resources I end up contacting.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, most definitely. What other questions do individuals or have a fantastic or participated in a great event that you want to share? I know we spoke a lot about like Zoom calls and getting people on Zoom and things of that nature. You know, Zoom's great, fantastic for a lot of things, you know, but there was a question about, you know, how can we create engagement other than Zoom? So, you know, we talked a little bit about social media and we talked a little bit about newsletters, things of that nature. You know, never underestimate the power of a phone call or the power of, you know, just of a mini mentorship program within the chapter. So we do have a organization-wide, you know, mentoring group, or, you know, called AKSI Pals, that individuals can sign up for, both students and alumni, and we will pair people accordingly. But even if, you know, you were to look at your group of alumni, your alumni list, and split that up and say that every student member just calls 5 alumni just to say hey and checking in with with them and see how they're doing, you know, it just might be enough to, you know, just to double, even if it's just to say, hey, I just want to double check that we have the correct email address because we want to invite you to our next insert great opportunity here. I think, or text messaging. I know that's not as personal, but, you know, the power of a phone call is, it's kind of a lost art at this point in time, but it is definitely, everybody relies so much on, you know, text or email that a phone call could be fantastic.
Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for answering my question so well. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Great. Anybody else have some other ideas for Henry for, you know, how to do something other than Zoom?
Yeah, going off of that and depending, so Henry, I have a question for you. Your chapter, do you know when it was established, what year?
I want to say 1972.
Perfect. The reason why I'm saying that is, besides the power of a phone call, depending on the year of your fraternity and especially of your chapter, especially if you are in the 1900s and 1970s, especially and more, the power of a handwritten letter goes such a long way because emails get lost so much, or you get bombarded by emails and you're like, you skip it or you just automatically delete it. But a personalized email, especially to that generation of the 50s, 60s, you know, 70s, 80s, could go such a long way that you just took a time to say hi or let them know what's going on with the chapter. So a personalized handwritten thing, that would be great. I also think it's a team effort to do something like this. If it's a phone tree, if it's handwritten letters, like not one individual. And when I say letters and I'm saying handwritten on purpose, not that they know that you like copy and paste it and print it out, that it was a personalized letter to them, goes such a long way depending on the generations that you have within your collegiate chapter. So hopefully that helps a little bit there, Henry, as well. And then depending where you're at and the COVID situation in your city or in your community, could be if you guys do something a little different as well. Like I know down in Miami, everything is gonna have to be virtual, but depending where you're at or your university and what the rules are in your city, or as it starts to open up, hopefully sooner than later, is how you guys could start doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, with the newsletter, I will tell you guys, I love the ideas of newsletters. Be mindful how often you send out the newsletter. You don't have to overwhelm alumni with information. Like a weekly newsletter, I'm going to be honest, for an alumni, that might be too much. You know, once a quarter, once every 3 months, maybe once every other month is a good rhythm because you want them to pay attention to the newsletter and read through it. Plus, it gives you guys enough time to get some really great content and new content for them in the newsletter. So be very mindful of your timeliness with the newsletter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in addition to, Jackie did put a link in the chat to the my AKSI community knowledge base that has samples of alumni newsletters. And I do know that, as well as a content paper on creating said newsletter, I will say that in terms of the look of a newsletter, I know that Canva, C-A-N-V-A, I'm sure many people, you may have already heard of it. They have so many free templates that, and I'm not sure how much the paid version of Canva is, but I think even within the free version, I mean, it's again, it is super easy for the non-design person in the room to design something. If you have pictures, you literally upload, drop, and paste it in there, and it formats it beautifully for you. You can pull over text boxes and everything, all of that kind of stuff that is just fantastic for, you know, download it into a PDF and send it out in an email. It is super easy.
Oh, I love the collaboration in the room of all of you getting together, because again, now with the power of doing everything virtual, how do you guys divide and conquer some of this? You don't all have to recreate the wheel. If someone does a newsletter, that could be shared, and someone does some great social media content that could be shared, the collaboration can make your lives so much easier and so much better to reach out to alumni. So I love it. Collaboration is key.
Great. And Kata, thanks for offering to share yours, because we love to see good ones.
Of course, happy to.
Yeah. And Henry, that is a lot of fives. Yeah. All of this is fantastic. And you're right, Jackie, you know, this is the benefit of attending a town hall. You get to meet people and make that collaboration group. So this is fantastic. Any other questions that you have?
One thing I'm going to put out there to you guys is an idea on how to utilize the resources that AKSI already uses for you guys. Is it, for example, convention next year in Miami? A lot of your alumni might already be going to Miami. How do you reach out to them and be like, hey, we're going to be there too. We would love to meet up with you guys for an hour or two. If they're already going out there, create an event. The space is already done by AKSI. The location's already picked by AKSI. They're flying themselves out. How do you guys meet up with that? You know, hopefully one day when we have PBLIs again or different things, or we're meeting in different cities. I remember being in Atlanta last PBLI and telling students, how many of your alumni are here or live here or coming back for PBLI? Have you reached out to them and just do an event that evening since you guys are already there? So utilizing those AKSI functions as well that alumni are already going to, especially active alumni, because if they're going to a PBLI, if they're going to a convention or something, they are actively involved and engaged with the fraternity. Utilize that already, because the space is already there for you guys.
All right. Okay, Jackie, real quick, I know we're coming up on some time here, and I know that we want to be respectful of that. One last opportunity for any questions. Otherwise, I think we will call it an evening. Perfect. All right. So did everybody get a chance to copy phone numbers that needed to copy phone numbers before we turn off the Zoom and these are gone? Thank you. So one thing I do want to say, again, just to reiterate, if you, like Jackie just put into the chat her email, I will also include mine. Make sure I type my name correctly. I am happy to answer any questions that you have. Again, reach out to your resource coordinator or Stephanie for alumni lists. We will get you those lists so that you can start communicating with people accordingly. And we want to hear your success stories. So if you put together a brand new newsletter, or you have a great virtual game night or a virtual, luncheon or educational programming or whatever it is, and it is a success, let us know, because we want to shout that from the rooftops and share all of your successes. So with that, on behalf of Jackie, I do appreciate you taking the time to spend the evening with us. Wish you the best of luck this semester, both in school and in AK Psi and in your role as the VPAR. Have a great night, everybody.